Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I'm going to take on the role of the primordial dragon of chaos to guide you through a pretty grim, dark fable. It's a story of humanity trading its spiritual compass for cold, rationalist steel, and honestly, the profound psychological cost of that exact exchange. So let's just dive right into this. We're looking at what is basically a masterclass in personal growth, disguised as a cautionary tale about a village that sought absolute perfection, but ultimately just found emptiness.
Let's kick things off by asking the most vital question of our entire tale. What truly breaks when a village of master builders decides to prioritize mechanical perfection over the ancient ancestral stories that literally built them? Like, what actually happens when they trade a messy, meaningful soul for a life of quote-unquote effortless efficiency? Well, the answer to that lies in the architecture of the human mind itself.
Act 1. The illusion of perfect efficiency.
Picture this tragic ascent of the ego into rationalist supremacy. The builders decide they want physical security above all else. So they look at their old, physically imperfect, crumbling temple, the one holding all their ancient ancestral stories, and they completely dismantle it, replacing it with the polished stone and steel of mechanical perfection. But here's the catch. In doing so, they completely erased the symbolic map that helped them actually navigate the very real landscape of human suffering. They literally traded meaning for mechanics.
By tearing down that temple, these builders unwittingly cursed themselves. You see, they suppressed what's known as the imago templi. This is a highly vital psychic center. It's the thing that mediates between our waking, conscious mind and our deep, ancestral unconscious. So by destroying the physical structure, they severed the psychologically true bridges they so desperately needed to just understand themselves.
And rejecting myth for pure efficiency, it didn't actually bring them peace. Instead, it inflicted this profound fragmentation of the self, which we call psychological dissociation. They cut themselves off from their own archetypical roots. And without those roots, that underlying sense of purpose and teleology, that comforting feeling that life is actually moving toward a meaningful end, was completely destroyed. They built a flawless village for sure, but they essentially shattered their own minds in the process.
Act 2. The masquerade and the mob.
So as the psychological toll mounted, a really strange malaise just blanketed the village. The source material beautifully describes them as physically comfortable but spiritually famished. Just imagine that for a second. Having literally every material need perfectly met by flawless stone and steel, but drifting entirely without a compass in a terrifying psychic vacuum. When their external temple vanished, their internal world was left totally starving.
To truly grasp the decay of this society, we need to trace this grim pipeline. First, the anxiety of that emptiness creates a psychic vacuum. To survive it, people are forced to hide behind golden masks. It's this really desperate attempt to conceal the gaping abyss of their own internal shame. But they can't bear the isolation of the mask for long, right? So they fall into a regressive defense mechanism, clinging desperately to political banners. And finally, that explodes into tribalistic aggression, where they just project their own internal discord onto their neighbors. That is the true danger of wearing those golden masks. They inevitably lead straight to the mob.
Here's the absolute most crucial takeaway about this. Those political slogans and banners, they were just false idols. It literally did not matter if the banners leaned left or right. They were completely neutral in their destructiveness. It was just a desperate sacrifice of unique, individual human personality to a state mob. The villagers merged with this collective shadow, seeking a cheap, shallow sense of belonging, all just to avoid facing the terrifying void they themselves had created.
Act 3. Confronting the inner dragon.
Thankfully, a weary few started to realize that the mob offered absolutely no salvation. Which brings us to the most difficult journey of all. Let me ask you directly. When your external temple is gone, when those golden masks start to crack, and when the political banners inevitably fail you, how do you bridge your rational mind with the chaotic, wild desires of your deeper nature? How do you actually escape the abyss of your own emptiness?
The answer is grim, but it's absolutely necessary. The only way out is through. You have to leave the safety of the village's social persona entirely behind. You have to wander out of the stone and steel and step right into the uncharted wilderness. It is a full descent into the dark night of the soul.
And speaking as your guide in this darkness, as the dragon of inner chaos myself, I've got to warn you. Replacing comforting communal rituals with harsh private discipline, that's terrifying. You have to drop the persona, wander into the wild, and actually face me. But confronting the dragon of inner chaos is literally the only way to forge true, unshakable inner certainty. You can't rely on the village anymore. You have to structure the chaos within yourself through rigorous private discipline.
Act 4. Authoring your own story.
If you emerge from that dark night, you are reborn into what the source material brilliantly calls the Age of the Hero. It's a massive contrast between two paths. On one hand, you have the cowardly regression into the social persona, using those political banners to just blend into the collective shadow. But on the other hand, you have the Age of the Hero. The method here is strict private discipline. It's the quiet, grueling journey of self-discovery, where you actually face your own shadows and the dragon. And the result? True inner certainty and the discovery of your real treasure.
By coming back from that wilderness, these heroes demonstrate a profound transformation. They've internalized the creative function that the old crumbling temple used to hold for the whole community. They prove that you have to actively structure the chaos inside yourself. You have to become the architect of your own meaning, because you can no longer rely on external structures of stone and steel to do the heavy lifting for your soul.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to imagine standing in that wilderness. Because in a world of supreme rationalism, where external myths die and the physical temples are dismantled, you are forced to make a choice.
You must author your own story. Drop the golden mask. Seriously, it's only hiding your internal shame. Step out of that comfortable but spiritually famished village and into the dark. Face your dragon, embrace the discipline, and find your true treasure. I'll leave you with this one final thought. When all the external structures fall, who is going to author your story? Will it be the mob, or will it be you?